Can you affect an outcome with your level of intention?
And it was affecting the DNA like 100 kilometres away. It was absolutely incredible.
They could see so much brighter colours or brighter images of the leaf healing.
I realised that the house that was painted on my wall is the house that I've manifested.
But I try and avoid them for the majority of the time because I know that they have a short-term up and a long-term down.
And then your brain and your energy starts looking for ways to manifest that.
It is incredible when you do put that intention out there, what can happen. Hello and welcome to today's show. Today we're going to be talking about intentions and the power of intention. Having just watched a documentary called The Power of Intention by Lynn McTaggart on Gaia. Got lots to share. You've got lots to share, Ali.
Absolutely. The power of intention is incredible.
We've used this so much in our own lives, and so that's what we're going to be talking about today. So let's start with, what is the power of intention? So there are lots of different ways of looking at the power of intention. There has been a DVD which was very, very successful called The Secret, which is all about the law of attraction. The power of intention sort of based on that sort of quantum physics side of things, where can you affect an outcome with your level of intention? And that was what was the whole ethos of this particular documentary that was actually run by a lady called Dr. Lynn McTaggart. I think her name is, apologies if I've got that wrong. And basically she did a number of experiments where she took a laboratory in America where they took two leaves and they punctured the leaves with holes, and they were able to see under certain microscopes and photography, they could see the light of the healing because the leaves will will try to heal themselves, and there is a light that is given off. Now, according to the experts on this particular documentary, they showed that when a team in the UK basically put intention on one of those leaves, they could see so much brighter colours or brighter images of the leaf healing. So they thought, wow, this is interesting. So they did a second experiment where they actually got some crops, and they had 8 sets of crops growing, and they chose one of those sets to focus on. And the growth of those crops was much faster than the other crops. So then the next thing they did was they focused on an area that was challenged with conflict. And so they took Sri Lanka as an area of conflict. And at the end of their putting out the intention that peace would come, after 10 years of conflict, during the week that they set out the intention, the war came to a close. And just to be sure that that wasn't just coincidence, they then picked a town in America, which was known to be one of the most violent towns in America, called St. Louis. And in St. Louis, there was a town called Fairground, or an area called Fairground, which was the most violent part of St. Louis. They set the intention for a week, and the violent crime went down by 49%. But what was interesting was they also kept the records of all of the other areas around Fairground, and no others saw a decrease. So incredible stuff. Great documentary to watch on Gaia. Ali, what's your experience with the power of intention?
Yeah, well, there's a couple of things that were coming to mind when you were saying that. One of the things, when I was on a Deepak Chopra training, Deepak Chopra was talking about some experiments that they were doing with the way that we're connected as human beings, and the way that we can affect our outside environment just with our intention. And they'd taken some DNA out of the mouth of someone, and they'd taken it about 100 kilometres away. Don't quote me the distance, but it was quite a long way away. And they got the person whose DNA they took out of their mouth to go through emotions, and it was affecting the DNA like 100 kilometres away. It was absolutely incredible.
So basically, the DNA that was taken out of that person's mouth reacted to the intent, to the emotion that the person was feeling. So the tissue was some way connected, still connected.
Yeah, still connected
on a vibrational frequency level.
Exactly, on a vibrational frequency level. So they got the person to go through different emotions like joy, anger, those sort of emotions, and the actual DNA was changing and being affected by the intention. So I think in all of history, we have seen this come through. So years and years ago, it was a very spiritual thing, but now that has now become a scientific thing. And I think in this day and age, we don't believe anything unless it's science, right? So a lot of people, a lot of us don't believe anything until it's proved by science. Before that, it's a miracle. When it's proved by science, it's science. And I think that's very interesting. But you and I have had lots of different experiences. One of the ones that I'll just quickly share, and then I'll chuck it back to you, Stephen, is a house that I built in Italy. So many, many, many years ago, probably about 30 years ago, Stephen's wife painted a massive big mural on my wall in the UK of a house in Italy. Now, Hazel and I have spent a lot of time in Italy together. I decided that I was going to have a house in Italy one day. I had no money, didn't know how the hell it was going to happen. So Hazel, we painted a painting on one of my houses. It's a small one, so it felt like when I was looking out the window, I could see this house. So I actually started thinking about manifesting this probably near 40 years ago, actually. And then we moved into another house, and Hazel blew the whole thing up even bigger on a wall. And every day, and for breakfast, I was looking at it. Anyway, I eventually bought a wreck in Italy, and I hadn't connected the two. So all this time, all that 20, 30, 40 years, I was focusing. I was wanting to create this thing. And looking at this painting that Hazel done, bought the house, knocked it down, rebuilt it, put some cypress trees in. It wasn't until a couple of years later I realised that the house that was painted on my wall is the house that I've manifested. The church on the hill, the way the landscape goes down, the terracing, the cypress trees. It's exactly the same house that I had looked at. And this house is imaginary. It wasn't actually a real thing until now. So Hazel and I actually manifested it together with my energy. That
was like a giant vision board, isn't it? Really, like that's like the ultimate vision board.
Yeah, it's the ultimate vision board.
And for those who don't know what a vision board basically is something where you take images of something that you would like to create in your life, and you can then take things like slogans or headlines or what have you to put on top of that. It might be like saying something like fantastic energy and health, or, a beautiful home in Tuscany or something of that nature. And then you put the images of those, where with yours, you went in typical Ali fashion. Let's do it in over the top and actually paint the whole wall. My vision board. And it was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful.
Yeah.
And it's still there in your house in Salisbury.
Yes.
And you now this is a broadcast from your home in Italy, and it is the home that has been created. And interestingly enough, that is what happened to us with our home in Salisbury as well. We managed to move into an area that we just simply could not afford, but worked out because the person who was building it for himself and his wife, and then it turned out that she was very settled where she was, where they moved to temporarily, and it then became available to us. But we would not have been able to afford it apart from the fact that it had some annexes or an annex to it, which I was able to then turn, with his permission, into holiday cottages and Airbnb, which helped us to then afford where we lived. And that was and we've lived there now for the last 12 years in a beautiful part of the world that we simply would not have been able to afford otherwise. And it was by putting that out there on our treasure maps, or vision boards, as they're more commonly known, and that became reality. So it is incredible when you do put that intention out there, what can happen. Have you got any other examples for people to hear?
Yeah, I think one of the things I wanted to say was, I know that I'm actually thinking about some people kind of go, oh, well, you just can't just say, I want to have a new car, and then all of a sudden it appears. I think this is the way intention works. I think once you've actually planted a seed, Anthony Robbins talks about this reticular activating system, right? So what you do is you go, that is what I want. And then your brain and your energy starts looking for ways to manifest that. So what happens is the signposts start popping up, and you start seeing things that you may not have actually even noticed before. But the fact is that you, like, for example, this house in Italy, I started looking at the houses. I started trying to work out how I was going to get the money, because I decided that's what I wanted to do. And then things started coming up like, oh, I need to notice that. It's almost like once you've decided what you want, the road signs start popping up. Appear. And that is what Anthony Robbins calls the reticular activating system, because you're now seeing things that are going to lead you. It's a bit like getting in a car, knowing where you want to go and having a map, and you see the signs. Or you get in the car, don't know where the hell you're going, there's no map, and you go round and round in circles.
Well, you don't know where you're going, so you haven't got any directions.
You've got no directions to go. No, you don't know what signs to look out for. You wouldn't even notice them if they hit you on the head, because you don't know where you're going. But if you know where you're going, you think, oh, that's stepping stone. If I do that, then that could actually lead me to that. And then you take that step. And then the fact that you've taken that step, you sort of notice another opportunity, and that's how it works. So it's not like you sit on your bottom and you just go, I'm manifesting howdy om. No, it doesn't work like that. You plant the seed, and then you do the work, and you notice what comes up. And I think the most important thing is that you notice what intuitions start coming up, because you start getting creative. Once you plant the seeds, it starts to actually stimulate thoughts and emotions and feelings and energy, and that's where things like meditation comes in, and all those sorts of things come in, because you start to notice and you start looking. So my advice is once you've actually decided what you want, actually notice what comes up, notice what comes into your mind, because I often find in the mornings, if I've got a major problem and I'm sat in meditation, something will maybe come up, and it will just be a signpost. And I think, God, that came up this morning, just after meditation, or actually during meditation. Oh, I need to do that in order to get there and there and there. So I think that there's a bit of a misunderstanding around manifestation, and people go, oh, you can't just sit there and just think it's going to happen. No one's talking about just sitting there. We have to do the work. But the interesting thing is that things start coming up, and I know that you've experienced that a lot with Hazel, and just about meeting each other, about the kids, and about the fact that we all met in Fiji, and we all were planting seeds and then following the signs.
So Hazel, she is really, really good at manifesting car parking spaces in car parks that are tiny, where people are queuing for ages. She will just drive in and go, no, there's going to be a space. There's going to be a space. And literally within about a minute, a space will appear. Or there's one there waiting as we drive in, especially down at Sandbanks, where the car park is tiny. The last time it happened was in the height of summer. And, you know, this place literally has people queuing down the block because it's so close to the beach. And she drove in, and I was like in my head going, this is never going to happen. There are loads of people queuing. It's going to be really difficult. You know, we might as well give up. When somebody knocked on the window and said, I'm just about to leave, and I've also got a ticket because I paid for all day. Would you like my ticket as well?
Do you know what? That's great. And I think you and I do that. Go on.
I think this is where it goes to the law of attraction, which is the secret idea of things, where you need to, and there's a lot more to do with frequency. So just imagining that you are what you want coming into your life is, you know, and setting the intention is half of the what you need to do. The other half is to try and get your frequency to align as if it's already happened, so that it's a bit like a sort of you imagine that you're a magnet, and you have to resonate on that magnetic frequency with which to draw that to you, which is hard. It's easier said than done. And you know, trying to get yourself into that really, really good mood, great space to do that is not that easy. But when you do, things move in your direction. It's a bit like, you know, when you walk into a room and you may not be in the best mood and what have you, and suddenly, you know, you don't attract the people and the opportunities and what have you. Whereas sometimes when you are just buzzing and feel great about yourself and you walk into a room and everybody's smiling and everybody's in a great mood, it's like in some way we are creating our world around us. You know, Winston Churchill said, you are creating your universe as you go along. And that is, you know, it's about what is the vibration, what is the frequency you are putting out there in order to get back what you want. So, Ali, have you found in your life that when you are putting out the wrong frequency, that things that you don't want turn up?
Yeah, in fact, I was just thinking about my mother's, you know, she used to say an old wives' tale. She said, well, bad things always come in threes, because one thing goes, your energy goes right down, and then something else happens because your energy is right down. Then something else happens because your energy is right down. And I think that old
and what
wives...
is that? Is that like saying that on the third one, that spell is then broken, or what is that? And it's like, it's done. We've had the 3 now. We've moved on. I mean, you know, it's an interesting.
I'm really not quite sure. I'm not quite sure, but it sort of goes along the lines of when your energy is down, like when you're in a bad mood, for example. Earlier, I was in a bit of a bad mood. I'd spilt something on the floor. I came in a bit too fast, and I knocked the light on the floor. That smashed. Wouldn't have happened if I'd have been in a bit of an energetic space, and I wasn't pissed off because I'd spilt something already on the floor. But I think on another level, generally, when I'm in a good space, better things happen. I mean, without a doubt, I think most people can say that when they're in a good space, happy space, good things happen.
And what's your tip for getting yourself into a good space and a happy space in order to start that process rolling?
Well, I think one of my best tips, I'll do one and then you do one because we have so many, but I think one of the best things is to step over the threshold of your day from a place of peace. So first in the morning...
is this when you're talking about the beginning of the day? Is it the
beginning of the day, yeah.
Right, okay.
So the threshold of your day is like when you get out of bed, you step sort of into your day, because when you wake up, you have to put yourself on, because you don't know who you are when you're first waking up. You wake up and then you go, oh, I put myself on. And then what people mostly do is pick this up and then they start scrolling on the phone. Whereas if you can just spend 5 or 10 minutes quiet, following the breath, so you actually then gives your mind and brain a bit of time to wake up. It starts from a peaceful, expansive space. Then you step over the threshold of your day. Or you pick this up, you scrud your hair, you put off your pyjamas, and you're already in a bad space because you've just started scrolling and seen something, or emails or stress or something. So that's the start of your day. Whereas if you start your day from a much more expansive, peaceful place, I know from my own practice, if I don't do my practice, I'm always in a bad mood. So, but yeah, in a nutshell. And Stephen, what about you?
Well, I was going to ask another question, but in terms of things that I do to get myself in a better place. Well, number one, I really focus on avoiding things that stimulate or cause my brain chemistry to change. So, for example, I know that if I have sugar or alcohol or what have you, I do them now and again, but I try and avoid them for the majority of the time, because I know that they have a short-term up and a long-term down. And as a result, it's then very difficult to be in a really good connected space. The idea, if you look at quantum physics, the idea is that there are multiple options in terms of where your life can go. Effectively, multiple parallel universes that are going on with every single possible outcome out there, and you are effectively in some way are choosing the outcome that you eventually get. So what you want to do, if you are, for me, is number one, making sure that the brain chemistry is in place. And number two is making sure physically as well, I'm supporting that through gym and, exercise. And then the third thing is something to do with, for me, music and sleep. So music on one side as a sort of pick me up. I love, as soon as you hear a really good piece of music, gets you in a great mood, but also making sure that I go to bed early to make sure that I feel good the next day. And a good example of that was last night. I got watching something that I was like, oh, this is really interesting. Ended up missing my sleep slot, and I'm really struggling today with my energy and trying to get my mindset in a place where I find it easier to put out the kind of frequencies that I want to put out there. So, it's very, I am my own constant experiment of what works and what doesn't work. And if I do mess with the formula, and the formula is, giving my body the nutrients, the rest, the right food, and avoiding the things that I know can upset the system, then I find it far easier to start doing that frequency work that then attracts in the kind of things that I want. I mean, a good example is this podcast. We put this out here as an idea just before Christmas, and here we are in January. And we're doing it. And, we thought about it. We, put that vibration out there. We put that frequency out there, and here we are.
And just before we do close off, one little thing, when you were saying about your sleep and everything, and we have to remember that the quality of your day always starts with the quality of your night. That's where it starts. That's
a great quote. Yeah, absolutely. That is so true. And I must get back into, because, you do flip out of these things, and actually writing down, like I do a meditation in the morning, but actually writing down your intentions for the day, it's a simple thing, but actually writing down what you'd like to happen at the end of the day, as if it's already happened. So I had a great meeting with X. I did a great podcast with Ali. I did a great this, and I had a great exercise session, or whatever it is, as if it's already happened. You'll be amazed how many things at the end of the day actually have come true from just setting those outcomes and those intentions. I remember once many years ago when I actually used to write out all of my intentions at the beginning of the year, and I had about 50 intentions. Not that I'm greedy, but I had 50 intentions, and one of them had as well a photograph. I did like my vision board, so I cut out some images, and one of them was of a photograph of St. Mark's Square looking out onto the gondolas at Venice. I'd never been, and I was like, I'd really love to do that. And the other intention was, I put, I'm a gifted filmmaker and photographer. neither of which I was at the time. And literally within 6 weeks of writing that, I found myself in St. Mark's Square, overlooking that exact spot, looking at the gondolas, which was literally on my vision board. And on that same trip, Hazel, by complete coincidence, met an old artistic friend whose son was with him. And while they were nattering away, I got chatting to the son. And I just said, well, what do you do? And he says, oh, I'm a documentary filmmaker. And that conversation led me to starting my own small video production company. And so within 6 weeks of writing down that intention and putting it on my vision board, I was not only in Venice, but I also started my video production business. So it can be very magical. It doesn't mean that it's going to happen that quickly. As I say, you have to get the frequency right. You have to resonate in that way so that you attract that into your life. But the point being is, half of the job is actually knowing what you want or writing down what you want, and even just setting out a list of things that you go, oh, do you know what, that would be really nice. I'd love to, go fly in premium economy, or I would love to fly business class, or I would love to go to Canada, or what, and say it, write it as if you already have. I have been to Canada and had the most amazing time. I flew there in premium economy and had the most incredible experience, or whatever it is, just putting it out there and letting the universe do its bit. Now, there will be people out there saying this is mumbo jumbo and what have you. But when you listen to top scientists talking about in quantum physics, talking about parallel universes, it's not me that's saying this. This is coming from scientists out there who are eminently more qualified than myself and Ali. However, it is a very exciting subject.
Yeah, I think the thing is just to remember the two things. One thing is know where you're going, and the other thing is make the very best effort to bring your energy up. Keep your energy up, keep your energy clear, keep your energy light. And if you do those two things and you just keep your your ears pricked, just keep noticing what's coming up, what the universe is showing you, what someone might say something to you. You might see something in a magazine, a podcast might come up, an image might come up on Instagram, or you might get an email and think, oh, I was looking for that. Because, sometimes, I know it's all technical thing, but when you click on something on Facebook, then all of a sudden it comes up on your YouTube search, or there's someone following you around. It's not really quite that. But those two things, just keep your energy light, keep your energy up, keep your energy bright, and know where you're going and decide where you want to go. And those are the most important things. And that's what we've been doing for the last sort of 30, 40 years, experimenting with. And on that note,
that's it for today. We'll be back again tomorrow. Hope you've enjoyed it. If you have, we look forward to seeing you on the next one. And also, if you are interested in joining us on one of our retreats, go to juiceretreat.com. It is basically 5 days of really taking care of yourself, a relaxation, rejuvenation. It's juices, it's soups, it's salads. It's also therapies and yoga, meditation, movies, log fires. It's just a really yummy 5 days where you can completely reboot yourself for 2025. So Fabulous. That's it. We'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining us.
See you tomorrow. Bye.
Bye.